Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caroline and today we're going to talk about reading when you have ADD and ADHD. Before we get into this video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, like this video, share the video, and you can of course also go follow me on Instagram. That's also called The Art of Being Ill. When you have ADD and ADHD, reading can be incredibly hard because you simply can't focus. It's almost painful to focus. And if you do have ADD or ADHD, you probably know this feeling of reading a whole page of a book, but then you literally can't remember what you just read. And you have to go back and read the whole thing again, and you can read it 10 times without really reading it. And it's really kind of annoying, to be honest with you. Personally, I kind of like reading. I especially like reading books about different topics like philosophy, history, spirituality, people who inspired me, their biography or something like that. And reading is such a good exercise for the brain. It really helps you keep your brain young and fresh, and it also helps you expand your vocabulary. For me, I have, for example, English as a second language, and you probably think that I'm completely fluent in English, and I would say I am fluent in English, but sometimes when I read a book that is in English, I sometimes come across new words where I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a word. Sometimes I have to look it up, sometimes I understand it in the context or something, but it has made my vocabulary in English much better and more, maybe a little more sophisticated. So what I want to talk about today is how to read when you do have ADD or ADHD. First of all, I'm reading currently this book by Dr. Gabor Mate, The Myth of Normal. I can highly recommend it, by the way, especially if you are chronically ill, if you have autoimmune diseases, ADD, ADHD, addiction, and so on. I can really recommend this book. But that wasn't what I was going to talk about. I think I have been reading this book since, I want to say February, maybe late February, beginning of March, and it's August now, and I am a little over halfway through. It has taking me a very long time to just get this far, and this is because I don't always read fast, and I don't always have the ability to focus for a longer period of time. So, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. It doesn't matter how long it takes for you to go through a book. Personally, for me, if I have like 2 weeks where I don't read at all for whatever reason, maybe I'm exhausted, a little extra fatigued, things are a little extra stressed at work or something, and I don't have the energy for it, I can still remember once I start reading. I can remember, I get into it again. So of course I can understand why that would be a problem if you don't have that kind of memory, but what I wanted to say with that is it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get through a book. There is no rule to how fast you should be able to read a book. So this whole idea about some people like, I'm gonna read 20 books this year. You don't have to read 20 books to read. And let's face it, ADD, ADHD, you're never gonna read 20 books in 1 year. Like that's not a realistic goal to have when your brain doesn't want to focus. So let's just put that aside. But what I do is I read when I can, when I have the energy for it, and as much as I can. So sometimes I have periods in my life where I read almost every day, maybe not a lot, maybe just 5 pages, but I read every day. Then right now I'm in a time period where I read on my days off, basically, and not even all of them, but I try to put some reading time in because I do enjoy it, but I don't push myself. So I do it whenever I feel like it, and I don't force myself if I feel too tired to have to think with my brain. That sounded a little strange, but you probably know what I mean, right? When you sit down to read, you don't have to read for like an hour at a time. In Denmark, kids are supposed to read every day at home for about 20 minutes. That's like kind of a homework. And the reason why it's 20 minutes is because that's all it takes to learn, to get better, to read. 20 minutes a day, that's all it takes. So, and not because you don't even have to read 20 minutes a day. This is for children, of course, who are learning to read. But it's just to give you an idea that you don't have to read for hours and hours and hours to get any benefits out of it when it comes to the workout of the brain, getting a new vocabulary, and so on and so on. It doesn't have to be that long. So whenever I read, I don't really care about how much time I use. I don't care how many pages. So sometimes I can, on a good day, maybe I have vacation time, so I'm a little more relaxed. Sometimes I can read 30, 45 minutes, tops. That's very rare. But 30 minutes I can do. And sometimes I can read 10 minutes. And sometimes I read 5 minutes. And sometimes I start a page and then I realize that's not gonna happen today, so I just put the book away. And that's okay. If I start to read and realize that I don't remember what I just read, then I stop because I know I can't focus on it anymore. So sometimes I read 5 pages. Sometimes I read 20 pages. I don't think I've ever read 30 pages in a row. And sometimes it takes me 10 minutes to read 20 pages. Sometimes it takes me 30 minutes to read 10 pages. And the point is, it doesn't really matter. Don't feel like because you have ADD and ADHD that you can't just sit down and enjoy a book, because there is absolutely no rules for how to read the book. So for me, I just do whatever I can, whenever I can, and how much I can, basically. So when I start losing focus, I stop. And one thing I have noticed since I started reading more and since I started on my ADD medication is that the more I do it, the more I can read. Of course, I have days where I'm more exhausted than others, so there can be a difference in how much I can read and for how long. But the more I do it, the more I increase my ability to focus for a longer period of time and for more pages. So I'm working my way up, and then if I have a break because maybe I'm exhausted, extra exhausted, maybe I'm for some reason completely unable to read for a couple of weeks, then I take a step back. I can feel then it's harder for me to get into the groove again. So, but what I wanted to say with that was really the fact that you can train your brain to concentrate and to focus by simply just, if you never read a book for many, many years and you want to get started, maybe just read 5 minutes a time, here and there, and then start increasing, and you will start noticing that you're going to be able to focus and concentrate for a longer period of time. And you're going to realize that you're reading more pages faster, and that you actually don't have to read the same page twice. So honestly, just get started. It's such a good thing for your brain health, and you can learn a lot. And a lot of people are listening to audiobooks, and I personally don't have anything against audiobooks. But the thing is, your brain's ability to imagine things, to read between the lines, is challenged more, used more when you read a physical book rather than listening to audiobooks. I personally don't listen to audiobooks, but I do listen to a lot of podcasts. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've learned plenty of things from listening to podcasts. But if you're reading a book on a subject or a story of some sort, reading between the lines, stopping up and being like, okay, so what Gabor Mate meant here was, I can see how that played out in my life as well. I can kind of see what he's saying, or maybe I can't see what he's saying, but this whole reflection kind of gets lost in the audiobooks because you're just listening. You're not really reflecting that much because you don't have time to do that. You can't just stop, you just listen, right? So I do recommend for brain health to read, even if it's hard. Start slow, small, just set 5 minutes of time, and don't beat yourself up. There are no rules when it comes to reading. You don't have to read 20 minutes a day. You don't have to read a certain amount of pages and blah, 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 blah. Like, there's no rules. Just read whenever you can, whenever you feel like it, when you have the energy, and read as much as you can. Even if it's 2 minutes, it doesn't matter. Just do it, because your brain will get some exercise and you will start to find it easier and easier to focus and concentrate. And I think the last tip I want to give when it comes to if you really want to get more into reading, find something that interests you. And audiobooks can actually be really good for that, you know, to try some different things without having necessarily to go out and spend a lot of money on books or go to the library and look at all the books. You know, sometimes it's easier to find an audiobook. But find out if you're into fantasy, or you're more like me, you want to read about subjects, about people who inspire you, or whatever is it you are interested in. It's philosophy, spirituality, maybe fantasy, sci-fi, horror, crime, so on. Like, what is it you're interested in? What would you like to read about? Maybe even fairy tales, you know. There's a lot of old fairy tales that are really good exercise for the brain, especially when it comes to reflecting. So I think find out what you like and start there. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just do a little bit what you can when you can, whenever you feel like it. Something that interests you, and just keep doing it. Even if you fail sometimes, even if you sometimes have to put the book down because you realize I can't do this today, even if you have like 2 weeks where you didn't read because you didn't have the energy, it doesn't matter. Just pick up where you left off and keep going. You will experience that your ability to read, focus, concentrate will get better. I hope you liked this video. I hope that it inspired you to start reading, and remember, there's nothing wrong with being in a place where you just don't have the energy to read. Perfectly fine. But I hope you'll give it a try, and you know, maybe you'll find it easier and easier and easier, and maybe you end up loving reading and you love reading a lot and complicated books and so on. But please don't let your ADD and ADHD be what stops you. It can be done. You can train your brain to read more. Have a blessed rest of the day, and I'll see you next time right here on my channel, The Art of Being Ill.